I had a 2-year anniversary video planned and that's still coming out, but I just had to make this video because I'm so annoyed at what the state of retro video gaming has become. Now look, I get it. Things need to be a business sometimes and I'm under no illusions. But what really triggered me, for lack of a better word, was this here video from a fella called Retro Rick. So he made a short and he talked about how Super Mario World is being sold on eBay boxed and complete for $700 to $1,000. Why? I almost lost my shit. Now this is nothing against Rick or anything. To be honest, I don't really know anything about him. I just saw it. It was in my recommendations, so I watched the video. Paying that much for Super Mario World, a 30-year-old game, is just beyond ridiculous. I almost can't even believe that anyone would pay that much or think that it's worth that much. It's just like, come on. It's 30 years old. For what reason? Why are people selling games for this much? Now, to be fair, a lot of these haven't sold, thank goodness, but just the audacity that people have putting it up for that high, it grinds my gears. And this is coincidentally around the time I watched a video from RGT85, and he was talking about how retro game collecting has become stupid in 2022. He articulated much better than I could about the current situation of buying retro games. In the States, at least. You know, just hearing him reminisce made me reminisce too about buying older games when I was younger, actually. I was really into retro games around the time I was about 9, 10, 11, 12 or so. I remember going to my local game store called the Game Craze in New York. Please check it out. There's one in Macedon, New York. I highly recommend it. And I went up and I picked up a Super Nintendo for about $30 or so because the one I had, there was a piece missing, so I had to buy a new one. I remember my brother water washed. He got a Saturn for $30, and I remember it was broken. We had to go and get a new one, and they wouldn't give it to us at first because we didn't have a receipt, but one of the salespeople remembered us, so it was all good. Those are the good memories I remember, and I know $30 back in, 2005 or whatever. Yeah, it's gonna be like $50 or something now, maybe, whatever, that's fine. But the way that they've gone up, Saturns are, I don't even know what they are in America anymore, to be honest. I haven't checked. They gotta be over $100 easily. And I'm always reminded of the Sega 32X and how it was literally worthless, and now it's over $100. I still can't believe it. That thing is over $100. Try getting Knuckles Chaotix for it. It's like nearly impossible. It's always going to shock me. I just can't get over it. Look, I get it. People are going to dump on YouTubers for this whole collecting thing, and depending on who you are, of course, you're playing a part. I mean, you're a reseller, you're buying games, the prices are going up. It's good clickbait, right, that you pay thousands of dollars for a game or whatever. I get it, sure, whatever. But I think something's just gotta give. Someone was trying to call me out, actually, recently. That GameCube short that I did with the GameCube controller. Somebody was saying that I was a collector and I was ruining things. Check the channel out. What collecting am I doing? I bought games and I played them, or I got rid of them. I sold them. I don't collect games just for collecting. If that's something that you do, that's totally fine, I guess. As long as you're not sort of paying these insane prices for games and then driving the prices up, I think that's okay to be a collector. People like to collect things, comic books, whatever. In terms of my situation, there is no purpose to collect things because I literally have no space and I don't have the time. I'm making YouTube videos. I'm trying to make the best videos that I can. I realize collecting is just not for me. I don't want to have things that'll sit on my shelf and I'll have no use for them. I want to get games that I want to play, and I think that's what most people want to do. I don't know, maybe when I was younger, retro games were too cheap and this is just a huge overcorrection. People are selling these things like they're going to pay for their college tuition, $800. I still can't believe it. And unfortunately, game stores nowadays don't really have much of a choice but to compete with these people. If you sell something low, someone's just going to come in, buy it, resell it. What does that do for the market? It just makes things worse. It's a vicious cycle. And unfortunately, it's one I don't see ending anytime soon. This is why things like the Virtual Console and Xbox Live Arcade are so important. Companies have the ability to make these games accessible to the masses, but sometimes you get a GoldenEye 64 situation where you're going to have to pay a lot of money to play a game that hasn't been released any other time. It's why recently I've really been on board with the idea of companies porting more and more games. They shouldn't be lost just because they're on older hardware. Fellow GPX member Asan-san mentioned how Nintendo should just release GameCube games on Switch on like a cart for $20 a pop. I would be so on board with that. I totally agree. I think GameCube games in particular, that sort of era, Xbox and PlayStation 2, they are good enough to be re-released nowadays. At least most of them are, I think, for a discounted price, for sure. And I think people would pay for them. I mean, they are paying for them. Look at GameCube games now. Melee is almost $80 or $90 or something last time I checked. It's insane. So if people are paying these higher prices, there's got to be a market for that, even if it's a small one. And I think if you release the games nowadays cheaper, it's only going to increase the market. more people are going to go for these games, in my opinion. Nintendo, for example, they're not strangers to doing this sort of thing. They re-released Super Mario Bros. On the Famicom Disk System, even though there was a cartridge version. I don't know. I'm going to sound like a snob here, I know, but games are meant to be played, so just play them. It's not there to be an investment. It's not there to pay off your house. But just to illustrate my point, I went on an auction website here in Japan, and I found that $700 Super Mario World was not $700. It was super cheap. See, retro game prices have gone up in Japan too, and it's pretty much due to foreign buyers, I hate to say it. Retro games are a niche market in the West, but they're even more niche here in Japan. People buy and play these games to have fun because they're really into the hobby. They call them maniacs in Japanese. It doesn't mean crazy killer or something, it just means you're crazy about a hobby. That's why Sonic Mania was called Sonic Mania. That's definitely a Japaneseism for sure. And the thing is, people here will pay high prices for goods that they like. Just look at the otaku culture, and they're buying anime DVDs with 2 episodes for $80. That's insane too. That's a different level of insane. But it's kind of the same thing. Except the big difference here is a company is taking advantage of its customers as opposed to other fans taking advantage of fans. But rarely are you going to find price gouging to an extreme degree, like an $800 Super Mario World. Like I said, things are getting more expensive here. When I came to Japan about 5 years ago, things were pretty cheap. I can get a boxed N64, maybe $30, $40. And yeah, now it's about $50 or $60. Even the special editions are a little bit over $100. Whereas in the States, if you were to buy a fantastic N64, how much does it go for? $200, $300. Now, of course, if you go to a place like Akihabara or Denden Town in Osaka, again, because of the influx of foreign travelers, the game prices are going to be much higher. You'll see signs on the stores saying that if you buy things in bulk, they'll give you a discount. I'm just worried because the supply is limited here, and I guess eventually, if things keep up, once COVID kind of goes away and the country opens up again, games are going to start leaving Japan again, and the prices are going to soar. Again, I didn't mean to rant too long, but I just don't think that game prices are ever going to go down. It's like comic books at this point. You're never going to get a Superman 1 for $10 again. Oh yeah, by the way, that Super Mario World, that wasn't $700. It was 700 yen, boxed. Which is about $5.